We're here at the Maritime Museum, 634 Humboldt Street in Victoria, BC, and this is an exhibition called Refugium, Poems for the Pacific, that resulted as a collaboration between Poet Laureate of Victoria, Yvonne Blomer, who edited a poetry anthology entitled Refugium, Poems for the Pacific. And in the anthology, 82 poets from as far as New Zealand offered their ideas, their thoughts, their words about the care and concern we have, especially for the Pacific Ocean, which touches all of us because of where we live. So when Yvonne invited the opportunity to, in collaboration with the book launch, have an opening of an art exhibition, it was really exciting for me to work with her and to bring together 22 artists, visual and performing, to respond to a selection of poems for the anthology. So we opened with a book launch on October the 5th at the museum, and also the opening of this exhibition of Refugium in response to the poems from the Pacific. So there were 3 performance artists that responded in conjunction with poetry readings at the opening, and they offered video, they offered a performative composition, an acoustic contrabass by Dave Rietstra. Grace Celez did a performance video with her poet juxtaposed, superimposed in front of the screen, reading the poem. And Bruce Coburn had a poem in the anthology that was then released in musical form, and there was an interpretive dance response by Nico Snow and Diana Sonic, which was very ephemeral again, but worthy of note. So the exhibition, really, the artists dealt with some themes. The ocean, the Pacific, its beauty, its sensuality, sense of home, sense of place for all of us that it touches. There was also concern about the historical aspects of how the landforms and how the coastlines have changed after colonization contact, how things were renamed and ownership claimed, yet we can still appreciate the beauty that has a larger-than-life presence to whatever humans try to impose. There's also a beautiful fascination by some of the poets and artists about creatures, life forms, how they communicate in ways that we don't understand, technology and the way it impacts us. A tragic beauty of, not perhaps beauty, but a tragedy of the way that we, as humans, cause pain and suffering for the animals and life forms on land, undersea, as a result of our need for oil and depletion of resources. There was also a really beautiful celebration of the ocean as healing, the spiritual powers of the ocean, and some of the rituals that are associated with the ocean. So maybe we'll just walk through, have a look at a few of the pieces, not all, that represent some of the aforementioned themes of the poets and the artists. Laura Felius responded to a poem by Anjana Yangwe, I'm not sure I pronounced it right, Thirsting for Salt Water. The poem is entitled, And I Have Always Lived Close to the Sea, and Laura entitled her piece, Thirsting for Salt Water. And so this is an example of one of the pieces that speaks to the beauty of the ocean and the sense of presence and space and home that we have. Ian Mcallister, photographer, wildlife photographer, was part of the exhibition. While we speak, he's actually on a photo shoot and wasn't able to attend the opening. But this is a piece that he selected, and it's in response to Northern Gateway by Lorna Crozier, and he's entitled it Northern Gateway. And so we're seeing, as he stated in his art statement, that these beautiful passageways intended for our wildlife were never intended for oil tankers. And so this piece speaks a bit to that. In terms of the ritual, ceremonial aspects of the sea, Natasha Van Netten has created this beautiful, almost scroll-like piece. It was her response to the memorial service for whales by Akiniko Misuzu, and it was translated by Yukaro Mendham and Alice Major. And in this, Natasha's access to the text was the kind of the beautiful rhythmic bell chimes as the Japanese celebrate and honor the sacrifice of the whales. The idea of how mapping, colonization altered landforms, waterways, and the renaming of places after that point is evidenced in Bob Dalton's collage piece. His response to Alexander Mackenzie Reaches the Pacific by poet John Barton. And his piece is entitled Near Bella Coola, Charting the Coastline. Connie Mori looked at, with Jan Zwickie's poem Seeing, looked at sort of again the victims of some of humanity's activities. And her piece is called What Remains, the Spectrum of Light. So there's kind of a juxtaposition duality of the cast forms of the birds and the natural tactile qualities, material qualities of the clay from which she cast them, the natural felt that she used for these little curled-like appendages that sort of imply maybe the spectrum of light that shines on despite what we might do to the environment and some of the creatures. Luke Ramsey is our artist in residence, Victoria's artist in residence, and he responded to Stephen Heighton's Last Sturgeon. And his piece, his drawing is entitled The Last Sturgeon, and in this he found his way into the text by taking the lines of the poem and actually creating little drawn visual narratives wrapped around one uniform creature, imagined unified creature that he created through this drawing. Phyllis Sorota's painting, just called Tashlik, in response to Barbara Pellman's poem with the same name, Tashlik, is again something that connects to the ritual, the ceremonial associated with the sea. And in this celebration, this ritual celebration of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, we see people casting stones into the sea. And the intent of the celebration is to cast aside things we don't need anymore, what we're willing to relinquish, to leave room for what there may be in the future. And I think this piece is a beautiful end note for the exhibition, because it begs the question of all of us, what we might be willing to relinquish or give up, what humanity might be able to relinquish or give up to save the future of our oceans. So this show, the exhibition, runs till December 17th at the Maritime Museum. And the Maritime Museum is open Tuesdays to Saturdays, 10 till 4. And we encourage people to come look at the show, perhaps look at the anthology, which is for sale in the front of the library here and available in other bookstores in the city, and to contemplate how we all might contribute in our small way to making our oceans beautiful, retaining their beauty, and save them for the future generations. So thanks to Yvonne for initiating, the museum for hosting Brittany This at the museum for her expertise and leadership, and to the Good Family Foundation for supporting a lot of the print materials for the artists. And we welcome you to come to the show.